Beautifully run, great venue, everything.
Okay, sure.
Yeah,
That's
definitely
awesome,
something to add
man.
to the list.
I didn't know you were out at the show, Eric.
Yeah, I was out there.
Yeah,
I went out there. Initially I had a full team supposed to go out there. I had two pros. I was supposed to be there for all 3 days.
sure.
And then everyone miraculously had some work related things going on. So then I only ended up staying out there just for the natural day, which was fine. Still a great time. Athlete was a first time competitor, made sure that she was, felt calm, safe, that she had an enjoyable experience and she loved it. But I was laughing on the way home. I was like, wow, that was the first bodybuilding show I've been to in years that people didn't know who I was. I felt like a ghost, like a fly on the wall. Like no one was coming up and asking me a gazillion questions. I was like, wow, this is wild.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, here we are again. It's the Crushing Limits Unleashed podcast. We got another co-host. We got Coach Eric, my good buddy, and we have IFBB Pro and Mr. USA Austin Bultman. Welcome, man.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad to be.
Yes, sir. I remember I want to talk about something. So we did the TCO. You obviously won the overall. Then you went on to the USA. You won the overall there, turned pro. And as soon as you came out at the Twin Cities, because we've been here forever and we always have a bunch of clients in it.
Sure.
And we're sitting up in the front rows, and you come out, no one knows who the hell you are. And I turned to Stephanie, I said, "All right, there's your next pro right there." And
Thank you.
sure enough, it happened.
Things just worked out right. I got lucky, so.
Well, I wouldn't say it was luck, but yeah, that was two phenomenal showings, man. So talk to us a little bit about, I feel like going into it, you kind of had like that Dorian mindset where you just like completely under the radar, and then when you show up, it's just game over.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how my world is. I mean, that's exactly it. And that's what everybody's asked since. It's where did you come from? Who
Uh-huh.
are you? Who's your coach? This or that. But really, yeah, I mean, I wasn't doing it to be known. I didn't do it to be some influencer. I just love the sport of bodybuilding, and I just never had the opportunity to push it to my limits and figure out what it really takes to get there. And we just had a really good off season the year before, and we kind of trained. So I don't know if you know much about me. My coach, Sean Frankel, he's a power lifter. He's been a power lifter, basically he's on the Mount Rushmore of powerlifting, and he's pretty much every world record there is. And so he trained me in a powerlifting slash power building uh, method. And so from that, over the years, we kind of adapted that to more bodybuilding. And as that changed, my physique changed, and we just decided to go full bore into bodybuilding. And that's where my heart was always. I
Mhm.
never fully cared too much about powerlifting, but I got my opportunity to get into bodybuilding and I took it. So,
Yeah, that's outstanding, man. You're one of the prime examples. Obviously, you have, Johnny Jackson, you got Ronnie Coleman, of course, where when you take a very intelligent power lifter and they transition into bodybuilding and they grasp it, how to, the mind muscle connection, I feel like you could just go so far, you
yeah,
know.
it completely unlocks all the doors. Like you never knew where your physique would transform once you changed your training style, but it did. It for sure did. And then it goes with the knowledge. You had to learn every little detail with the nutrition, with the supplements, with the drugs, and everything it took to get there. And honestly, that's the rabbit hole that I dove into to meet Sean halfway to really push this thing to the limit and get us to that national show.
hmm I know Eric knows, quite a bit about this too, but nowadays, of course, where like you were saying, where you have influencers, where you have, everyone's a coach online, and you see all this glute stuff, like this is stuff we didn't see, like Ronnie Coleman didn't train glutes. There wasn't like a glute day. And, you show up at the Twin Cities, glutes peeled from top to bottom, and it's like, it probably just came from squatting heavy.
Yeah, honestly, I think there is something to be said about heavy lifting because I still incorporate that today with my training style. I mean, that heavy weight is going to build that deep, hard tissue. And that's when you peel it down, you're not going to have those smooth muscle bellies. You're going to get that deep crevices, those deep, hard, hard muscle tissue to show. And honestly, I attribute all my success to that, really.
Hmm. Is
I
that
think
kind
that's one
of,
of the, oh, no, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was going to ask you, Eric, is that kind of what you see with clients where, you're coaching them in powerlifting, and then when they make the switch, it's kind of similar?
Oh, yeah. And it's definitely some of my favorite transformations to make because that density comes from nothing else other than just sheer fighting gravity. And it's such a cool thing to watch. Like, I've got a good friend who's also a pro bodybuilder, Shane Stewart, competitive powerlifter for years,
Hmm.
incredible athlete, made the full switch over into bodybuilding. And that graininess is so wild to see. And it only comes from people that lift heavy ass weights. And so when I do the programming for the workouts, progressive overload is absolutely mandatory for everyone because you need that load. You need to generate that density. And when I had scrolled through some of your social media posts to see what your background was and whatnot, and I was like, this guy's a freak. I love it. This is totally a guy that I would work out with.
Absolutely.
So
I
Austin,
think
take us back, like, when did you start training? And then when did the idea of competing in bodybuilding happen? And kind of a two-parter. And then I'm sure you've done some powerlifting meets, I would imagine.
for sure, for sure. I mean, if I go back to, I've always had a passion for bodybuilding. So when I was in high school, I mean, I loved watching, you know, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, all the big greats back in the 90s, 2000s. Um, but I just never had the training or a coach or somebody in the area that would just teach that lifestyle to you. And so I just kind of drifted away from it. But I've always had a passion for the gym and lifting weights and learning. And then life happens. So I had a kid in college early. I had to get, make something of myself, earn a living. And I ended up starting a construction company, obviously,
Mhm.
and that took me a ways, but it pulled me away from, obviously I had to own my own business and I had to be professional there. And it takes every bit of effort that you got to run a successful business. So I did that, was successful. And then I realized that I'm pushing too hard one way and I want to enjoy life a little bit and got back to my grassroots. I had an injury, I tore my bicep and it was a really tough injury for me to get over. And then I ended up putting on a little bit of weight and I decided that I was getting a little too fluffy. So I knew a guy, Sean Frankel, and I'm like, this guy probably knows nutrition. I knew he did a bodybuilding show. And I'm like, I know him from years ago. And I'm like, I'm going to go talk to him about a diet. And went in, met with him. He's like, okay, I'll do the diet for you. But you're going to do one thing for me. You're going to do a bodybuilding show. And that's how it all started. I'm like, all right, whatever, let's do this. And it just all steamrolled from there.
That's awesome. When was that? I mean, was that last year or?
That was like 6 years ago.
Okay.
I go, I want to say 2018, and that was the Omaha show. I won the overall there.
Okay.
And that was when I just kind of figured out bodybuilding because otherwise I've never trained for bodybuilding. And even at that, I really wasn't training for bodybuilding. We were still doing powerlifting, but I just had a physique to put it to use. And we figured out dieting, and I got really good at dieting. Um, and then the second show I did was 2 years later for bodybuilding. It was Mighty Muscle on the Mississippi,
Hmm.
out in Dubuque. That was a great show. On that one, won the overall there, and then I started another company after that, another tower company. And then I took about a year off to get that company rolling, and then got back into training again, and then did a big off season, and the physique was looking pretty good. And I told Sean, let's push hard and let's go for a national show because the physique was, teetered around the area where we thought we could compete for that national. And we decided to put the plan together, and that ended up being Twin Cities,
Hmm.
USA's after that. And that was the final push. And it just happened to work out for both.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, that's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Definitely. So at what point, so you won the Omaha, you won your first overall. At that point, did you think you could turn professional, or you weren't sure where you wanted to take it just yet?
No, that was I before I even did that, I wasn't even sure if I would want to stand on stage in a, in a thong and in front of a huge crowded room. So that was just getting through my comfort level. And then I realized, it wasn't so bad. And, I definitely wanted to do it again. And so we just, kept advancing. And then that's where the passion grew from show to show to show. And when the passion grew, the knowledge grew. Um, so every little detail with the training, with the supplements and the diet, it all grew with the passion, right?
Hmm.
Show to show to show, I just fell deeper and deeper in love with the sport.
That makes sense, man. When you were getting into it, I know you mentioned, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman. Were you wanting to like emulate those guys, or was there someone where you're just like, that's exactly what I want to do, you know?
Yeah, you're talking about someone's perfect physique, my ideal physique.
Yeah, like when you started, was there like a physique where you're like, that's exactly what I want to look like? Like that's like the end goal.
Yeah, the end goal, I guess, I always loved Jay Cutler's physique or Kevin Levrone.
Hmm.
They had amazing physiques. Um, but yeah, emulating that is a different story when you're playing with your own genetics. So, but yeah, you can look up to that, you can aspire to that, and you can work towards those things. But you can only go as far as your genetics will let you go.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point, man. It's hard for some people to grasp that. Like some people take it personal when it's just like it's not personal. It's just, your God-given talent, your genetics, and that's it. Like you can work as hard as you want, but there is going to be a ceiling for each person, you know?
Yeah, and everyone's going to have a unique look, and that's what you got. But you got to make the best of it. So yeah,
That's the beauty of it though, because it's not the same thing. Like you've been to shows and you see people in a particular division that it just looks like a cloning factory. They all look the same. And that is the beauty of open bodybuilding is that everybody is different. And it's so exciting for that.
Yeah, I think, at the end of the day, I think the three of us know the IFBB maybe fight us on this, but it's like the open is what sells the seats.
oh,
It doesn't matter about the numbers. Like people are at the Olympia, they're at the Arnold, they're at Pittsburgh this weekend to see the open, you know?
Pittsburgh's going to be a great show.
Man, who do
That's
you
a
got?
lot.
What are you thinking, Austin?
Oh man, I don't even know what to think. There's so many. I mean, that's just what do you got? Uh, Lunsford's in it, Fitzwater's in it,
Yep.
Walker's in it, Carrizo's in it.
Good veto.
Good
But yeah, I
Vito.
was just about to say good veto.
Good
Yeah. And
Vito's
then you
looking
got
really.
Crizzo, Michael
Yep.
Crizzo,
Yeah,
uh,
I don't. I don't.
William Bonac.
It's hard to go against Lunsford, but I don't know. I would say Good Vito is looking really good in the pictures, but you never know until you see them on stage. And
Hmm.
until they stand next to each other, pictures are just pictures.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
And I think we're going to see a great battle between good veto with Nick Walker, especially showcasing the difference in their back muscle. They're so similar in certain aspects, but that back is really going to be a deciding thing for that. I'm
Yep.
excited.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think, it's a great comparison. I think good veto, like the legs are just far superior than Walker's, in my opinion.
Oh, for
Dude, those
sure.
separation lines, they're just a mile deep.
Yeah.
Yep.
You guys have probably seen too in the latest clips, when he just won Arnold Brazil, I believe. And when he hits the back double, it's just like it's crunched. He doesn't like flare it out. And his posing has been critiqued in the past, but it's like, man, if he were to nail his posing, I feel like he would actually be the front runner, even ahead of Derek.
Yep. Absolutely. I've seen there's a couple of pictures that is impressive. The what is it? The back rear lat spread with Nick Walker. How tight his waist looks from the rear on that rear lat spread.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how he does it. He pulls that thing together. It doesn't look like he has a waist.
He's the most jaw-dropping person to see in person
Yeah.
because when you see him in person, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You're like, no one like that exists. And there he is.
Yeah, it's crazy, because you see the clips, you see the pictures, but he actually like he's a very, very good seasoned poser. Like the guy doesn't get tired. He can go through all the rounds. He's not one of those guys huffing and puffing. Like he's a very, very good poser, which is nice to see with an open bodybuilder.
You're talking Nick?
Nick.
Yeah, and he gets
Yeah.
harder every pose. So like
Yeah.
he does it. So absolutely.
Yeah, like him, Derek, Hottie, those guys, they can go round for round. It doesn't matter how many rounds Tyler calls it. Like they don't lose any stamina.
So speaking of that, like, so when you're doing your national shows, like, did you notice any of that huffing and puffing backstage going through your rounds?
I've always had trouble with posing, to be honest.
Okay.
And if I had to pick a weak area for me, it would absolutely be posing.
Okay.
Like I feel like I can nail the mandatories perfectly. Everything's hit to perfection.
Yep.
But it's just like for me, it tying everything together to go through 3, 4, 5 rounds.
Yeah.
Kind of always just been a struggle, like for
It,
me.
it's a whole different level of conditioning. You almost have to condition yourself for posing. And
Yes.
so John, he doesn't care how terrible I feel or how it works. Like he's going to push me through my sets, through every little thing. So when we're posing, we're holding this stuff forever. And honestly, like when I got to USA's, it paid off. Like these guys are dying backstage, and drinking their Pedialyte, and I'm like,
Yep.
I'm good. Let's go.
15-second holds, 5 rounds. Let's
Yeah.
go.
That's the way to do it.
But I was holding 30, 45 seconds. So Sean, he had no mercy for me.
Man.
I'll put it this way: my coach. Well, everybody else has these online coaches, right?
Hmm.
Sean, it's in person. Every training session, he's right there with me. So, I mean, there's no getting out of anything. The accountability is there every single day. So, and whether it's posing, whether it's I come in one day looking a little soft, or every little thing with the diet, it's you can't hide anything.
Hmm. That's so key, man, because I've done, my best preps have always been like you said. I've been my own coach for like forever. But when I had a training partner, Dave, we trained for 4 or 5 years, and it's just like you said, it didn't matter how tired I was. We'd finish the lift, and I'd be thinking in my head like, please don't say let's go to the posing room. And he'd be like, all right, let's go to the posing room. And I'd be like, oh man, here we go. But it's like you said, you have to have someone to keep you accountable.
For sure, for sure. And every workout too. I mean, I would say that's where I had an advantage. That's where things paid off for me. So there were no excuses. There was every single day, and you do everything. And then his training style is like Branch Warren. It's blood and guts. Dorian Yates. It's
Hmm.
you're going to complete exhaustion. You are just flat out killing yourself on every single set. So,
Love it.
but then, I've learned a few things too. So, we're changing the training styles a little bit depending on where we're at, off season, in season. But I think everything is advancing with, obviously I'm newer to the sport. I don't have every answer. I don't have, you know, everything figured out yet. So the more I learn, the more I progress and the better things go. So
Absolutely. Austin, do you coach online too, or do you kind of stay
I
out?
do. I
You do?
end up helping a lot
Okay.
of people. I usually don't like charging people anything. I'm more of a friend,
Yeah.
but I love helping people. I love helping anybody get the knowledge. It's like I never had that knowledge, and I always wanted that knowledge, right? So,
Hmm.
say I was in, just out of high school, and I loved it so much. It's if I would have had someone to share that knowledge with me, I would have been so grateful. So, I feel like I owe it to people to give that knowledge back.
That's a great way to look at it, for sure. Where are you located anyway?
I'm located in a small town, kind of by Sioux City, Iowa, and so I drive an hour to the gym every day. So,
Sure.
but that's the dedication it takes if you take it serious.
Absolutely. Where do you
Oh,
train out of too? I
I've
got a
done that.
client out there.
I train in Big Iron Gym in Sioux
Okay.
City.
Okay.
Yep.
Big Iron. Yeah, I don't know if that's the one. I can't remember the one we went to for Jack's show. I don't think it was that one though.
Okay. Where was it at? In Sioux City or
No, it was Des Moines.
Des Moines?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where it was, Des Moines. Yep. Let's see. So take us back to your first show. Like, can you remember anything that was just like looking back now, it was just ridiculous? Or were you working with Sean at the time too?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's
Okay.
the one. me into doing it. Otherwise, I
Right.
probably done it. So yeah, I followed through with my promise. But really, I had no expectations. I didn't know what it was all about. I didn't know what it took to get there. And so, and when I went through that first prep, Sean is a guy who is just like, do it. And he doesn't tell me why.
Mhm.
And I don't work that way. And so since then, I figured out the why through every show. And the more I figured out, the easier it is to meet him halfway. And every single show gets easier, you know.
Mhm.
So everything progresses with the knowledge for me anyway. I don't rely on people telling me do this or do that. And I need to know why. I need to know what it is that does every little detail. And that way I can make sense of it and make the best of it,
Mhm.
especially with nutrition, dieting, cardio, stuff like that, insulin sensitivity.
Yep. Now, let's fast forward to the current. So obviously, I mean, I could tell you're just looking massive, just just sitting there. What have you been up to? Do you have a pro debut in mind?
Pro debut is going to be there when I feel like my physique is ready. So it's the same thing I did for like USA's for
Mhm.
nationals. It's because I don't want to step on a stage that I don't feel like I could compete.
Mhm.
I don't do it just to do it. I feel like I know what body weight I need to get to. I know there's certain areas that I need to improve. I have an idea how long it'll take to get there. I know how much of an off season I think I have. So hopefully my debut will be in about 10 months from now.
Okay.
So I got about 6 months of bulking yet. Hopefully 6 months, I would say. I want to get up to, well, I'll just tell you. So right now I'm sitting at maybe just under 290, 288, fluctuating there. I want to get up to 300 pounds, maybe between 300 and 310 pounds. Say if I get to 310, I'd like to lean that back down to a lean 300, and then hopefully step on stage at 275, something like that, 280.
Mhm.
I'd like to look because I'm taller. I'm not a shorter guy.
Yeah.
6. So
What were you at, like the Twin Cities or the USA's?
um, both were pretty close to the same. I was 258 at USA's, and I think I was like 261 at Twin Cities.
Mhm. Yeah,
So
I figured right around 260.
yeah, I got a little drier for USA's.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Yeah,
but
that'd
that was
be a crazy look.
yeah, it was two totally different looks, 2 weeks apart. But for me, I dig so hard with fish. When I introduce fish, I mean, and it doesn't take much. It doesn't take too much time, and I will just peel. And so I got to be careful. Once I do more than 3 days of fish, consecutively,
Mhm.
I need to reel it back and kind of, go back to some sort of chicken or something, because otherwise I'll just deplete too much too fast.
Yep. What did the diet look like too? I mean, you don't have to get too specific. Just what did the diet look like, let's say, like 8 weeks out, to like 2 weeks out leading up to, the USA's?
Um, I would say the closer I got to the show, I mean, really the diet was really easy. And I know people struggle with diets, and I guess I'm genetically blessed there. But obviously, I never cheated on any meal. I had one meal where I missed a meal.
Hmm.
I don't cheat on meals. I don't. So, I mean, it's routine, and I mean, if you're going to take it serious, you've got to do everything. So, but I would say my mornings were 10 egg whites, cup and a half of oatmeal. I would say this is probably around 10 weeks out. That's obviously 6 meals a day. So I had two chicken meals and one with rice, one with potato. And then if I'm around 10 weeks out, I was still eating red meat at that point. I probably had one red meat meal. And then I would finish the day I would probably still be eating like a bagel with a little bit of peanut butter on it right before bed with another 8, 10 egg whites, something like that. And I probably had a couple yolks with those two. So if I'm 10 weeks out, I'm probably eating maybe 4 yolks with my eggs in the morning. So 6 egg whites, 4 whole eggs. Uh, Before bed, it's probably 2 whole eggs and maybe 6 egg whites. So 8 total eggs with a bagel, a little bit of peanut butter. So,
Hmm. Now,
and
were you
as
doing, oh,
what's
go
that?
ahead, man.
Otherwise it's sweet potatoes. It's potatoes. Obviously, it's the chicken. I didn't get too crazy. I don't try to, I'm not counting macros. I'm just doing plain. I don't care what the food tastes like. It's fuel. You
Right.
know what? It's just the fuel. You're putting the fuel in the body, and you're going to get your result. And that way, I'm not manipulating one carb versus another carb. It's the same thing every single day.
Hmm. Eric, imagine having a client like that. Just follow the plan, you know? Is that like music to your ears?
Oh, of course. But I was going to say, you have such an amazing advantage over just someone who only did bodybuilding because you already have the density and you understand the structure. But diet wise, was it hard for you going from eating for performance into eating for aesthetics
Eating for performance for like
for
powerlifting.
for powerlifting? Because then you're I'm assuming you
Well,
were 275 weight class.
yeah, for powerlifting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a couple meets at 275. Really, I was always leaner powerlifting. I didn't get into the full crazy outside the box look. I still had a bodybuilder look. Um, and to be perfectly honest, I never took powerlifting serious as Sean wanted me to be. So when I first came to him, I think he wanted me to be a powerlifter because he's a powerlifter at heart. And so uh, I first told him, I'm like, I really don't care how strong I am. I just want to look good. And I think I disappointed him there. I think he was ready to kick me out of the gym. But things changed over the years, and I think he knew where I was coming from, and he obviously got into bodybuilding a little bit. He was coached by Todd Smith out of Omaha, and so he learned bodybuilding, to a certain extent, and was able to pass that on to me, and I'm thankful for that.
Was he surprised? Like, was there a moment, where you're just peeled out of your mind 2, 4, 6 weeks out where you felt that he was like shocked that you achieved a look that's obviously very hard. It's already hard enough to turn pro, much less win the USA's. Was there a moment where you could see that he realized that he's dealing with something special here?
He will never show you that. Sean is a guy where you're never doing good enough. So any kind of praise that's not coming until after you finish the job. So if
Man,
anything, you're good enough, and you're still missing. So
man, those types of coaches though, I mean, it makes you so good, you know.
yeah,
It's tough. It's not that type of approach is obviously not for everyone, but
yeah,
the people that can follow like such a rigid, I mean, you're gonna excel, obviously.
yeah. No, I'm grateful for sure. I know what it is, and now I know him on such a deep level. I laugh about it. So
Yeah,
I know exactly what it is. I'm like, okay, okay. So
that's awesome though.
So you were talking about, knowledge of nutrition evolving as you have evolved. What's something that you've noticed on your journey that you're like, wow, that's amazing? Like, is there something about food in general that you're just like that one thing that was such an eye opener?
um, nutrient timing. Um, nutrient timing on, basically once I learned how insulin worked in the body and how to manipulate your body's insulin, or deplete your body of insulin, whether you're gaining or losing. So basically, if you're trying to cut or burn body fat, if you have insulin present in your bloodstream, your fat cells are locked. You will not burn fat. And so I figured out how to, basically work around like your fast. So if you go to bed every night and you're sleeping 8 hours, well, that's an 8 hour fast, right? And then what I would do, the further into my preps, um, I would have my last meal would just be protein, so just egg whites. Try to cut the fats down pretty low wherever we're at for fats, and just do maybe spinach, so just a little bit of fiber. Otherwise, there's no real glycemic index with my last meal before bed. Then I would go back to the previous meal, and I would have either a potato or rice for carbs that would spike my insulin levels. But after that meal, I would do cardio right away. And so I would deplete that insulin out of my bloodstream, and I would burn those carbs instead of store those carbs. And so I'm fasted for a longer state. And then I would wake up and get into, I don't know, depending on what time I get up, 5, 6 in the morning, and make sure I got my cardio going in the morning too. So depending on where we're at in the training, I think I finished with 40 minutes of walking in the morning and 40 minutes of walking at night. I think that was as intense cardio as I did, and all I did was walk. I walked around a track at a high school. It was consistent. I didn't have hills. I knew exactly what I was doing. So, and it was just a timing thing. 40 minutes and 40 minutes. That's it. But it's timing the nutrition around the cardio and playing, knowing what the insulin's doing in your body and knowing when I'm burning fat. And and that's another thing too, is how in tune you get with your body. And so I really got in tune with my body probably after my second show. I could sense the feeling of, okay, now my body's burning fat. And once I felt that, I can understand every little feeling. Okay, well now you know, I feel anabolic. I feel like I'm gaining muscle. I sense these feelings. So the more in tune you are with your body, the more you're gonna grow with your physique.
Were you doing, any type of refeeds with Sean or any cheat meals, or how did that look like?
He didn't introduce him for a long time until another person at the gym was like, "Hey, you should probably give him a refeed. He's looking kind of flat." And then I think the light bulb went off, and then I got refeeds all the time.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, we definitely did a lot of refeeds. Once you get your body fat down so much, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's hard for me to spill over. Like even before USA's, I mean, no joke. We went out to eat, and I had like this massive chicken and rice meal, but it was smothered in barbecue sauce. He's like, you know what? He knows me and how my body's going to burn it. I don't really spill over. I mean, if you're conditioned, me, it's tough to really spill over. If you really dial it down and you peel it off, it's tough for me to spill over.
Yeah. That's one thing that,
You gotta have so much carbs to truly spill over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was still putting in, like, I know I'm eating at least 1,000 grams of carbs in those days. So, and maybe it's not.
Still waking up 3 pounds lighter the next day.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, honestly, like, I don't know if you look on my Instagram, there's a photo shoot from the day before USA's. And honestly, I thought I looked better that day, a little fuller, maybe not as dry, but I don't know. From day to day, I mean, just nailing your peak, but I thought I looked pretty good that day. So, and that's just running on so many carbs.
yeah, it's funny how that works, man. Just comparing pictures, and I mean, it is hard to peak, it is a science, but you'll find you obviously find so many things, along the way with more shows that you do, which look is best, what they're looking for. But I mean, that's the fun part about it.
Yep.
Listen to your body, listen to a good coach. Don't listen to the internet dweebs.
What do you think the some of the myths are today, Austin? Like when you see stuff online, I know I don't know how much or how little you're on. Obviously, you don't post a ton. I've been following you for a while now. But what do you see, what are some things that you see that just kind of shock you where it's just like you kind of started where we did, where it's just like hardcore training was like number one.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I guess what I see that I don't doesn't intertwine with what I'm trying to work towards now is, like, when I walk into a gym, I see a lot of people just pushing weight. They're just pushing weight and they're not isolating muscles. And you look around and there's a lot of people doing that. And so, and you just want to help them and do whatever you can, but not you pick and choose your battles with who you want to help. But there's so much of that. And even I did it for a long time. Even when I was training the first couple of years of Sean, we didn't really change everything up. I'll say I was pushing weight. And once I learned how to concentrate and isolate muscles, that's where everything changed. And
Mhm.
that physique really took off.
Do you
Um,
have oh, keep going. Yeah.
yeah. And then it comes down to the thing that was deceiving, I would say, is that I mean, if I was just starting out, to know what it takes to get to the top, like, I never knew like the drug protocol and what it would take to get there. And that's where, everything is manipulated. Everything is covered up. Nobody tells you really what it is or what they're doing and what it takes. So really unraveling that, like, that's some things that people should know,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's things that some people shouldn't know. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Let's talk about that a little bit. You can dive in as much as you want. As far
yeah,
as like the PED protocol, would you consider the protocol that Sean have you doing? Is it Is it low? Is it moderate? Is it, more
It
of
was,
a higher?
yeah, it was low,
Mhm.
but that's where I kind of went outside of Sean there, and I learned the drug protocol from another guy. Actually, it was the Dan, the bodybuilder in Thailand. I kind of developed a friendship with him, and he really opened my eyes. But like even my first show, even my second show, I don't even think first show. I don't think I even hit 1,000 milligrams of test. I was probably at 700, 750. Very basic, just like what everybody hears, right?
Yeah.
And then second show, I might have brought that up to 1,000, and that's thinking because in my early years, I'm like, gosh, if you take your test to 1,000 milligrams, I mean, you're gonna have a heart attack. But now, with everything that I've learned over the years, there's so much information out there, and there's so much chemistry behind everything. And once you learn how to put it all together, that's an art in itself. And if you plug that in with the right nutrition and the right training and the right recovery, that's the perfect symphony. Like that's where everything comes together. And if you get that right, it works.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. It's always frustrating too. I'm sure you get this a lot too, Eric, where, someone comes to you either, they hire you or they come from another coach and they're just using this like crazy death stack. And it's like, you don't need all that crap. Like,
mhm,
and not to
It's
mention too, like it's expensive.
mhm.
yeah.
Uh,
I think I've told you about this. People come, other coaches or the one I get all the time, and I screenshot everything because I'm like, at some point I'm going to cash in these receipts. But I get a lot of them like, hey, my coach wrote this, but he doesn't know what this does. What am I supposed to do? I'm like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. I got 20-year-old kids contacting me. They're like, hey, I had a really bad off season. So my coach told me I needed 6 IUs of pharma grade growth hormone and I need this and I need them. Like, you're 20. You know what you need? Steak. Go eat steak.
yeah, yeah.
But
You
like,
a lot of learning before there's different stages, and the problem is everybody wants to jump from 0 to 100, and there is a safety issue, and you got to know the risks that you're taking. And I think a lot of these kids are deceived, and they want to jump on trend and every little thing, and you got to know the consequences. You got to know what you're putting in your body. You got to know every little detail. And if you don't know that, you have no business taking it. To be honest.
Hmm.
especially if the coach is not well versed. Like, I'm not saying everyone needs to understand the pharmacology to the degree that I do, but you got to know something. And you got to understand genetics too. Does your body need that? What do you respond to? I have a good friend of mine. We talked about this, about this Olympian bodybuilder, and he sends me his drug protocol. And I was like, I don't think you sent the rest of it. And he goes, that's the whole thing. Like, that can't be. That is literally less than what I am medically prescribed through the HRT clinic. And he was like, I've done that exact protocol for 4 shows back to back. That is the entire contest prep. It was no more than 350 milligrams of testosterone. He barely used any masteron. He used a little bit of proviron. And this was the most bizarre thing. And he's a nice guy. He really is, but he's a super dork. He goes, 3 weeks out from the show, or whatever it was, 4 weeks out from the show, he's like, I add 1 IU of growth. I'm like, that doesn't even do anything at that point. And so, like, that guy is on the Olympia stage kicking everybody's butt.
But what did they do cycles before? How did they get that size? You know what I mean?
That,
I think
no.
there's something to be said about, your growth and getting to the top and then
Mm-hmm.
maintaining and just dialing it in when you're at the top.
So this is one of those super genetic freaks that was literally the most he'd ever done, and he was like, "Dude, that was making me nervous." And I'm laughing because when I was at my biggest, I ran. I just wrote this down the other day. Someone was asking about this. When I was at my biggest, when I was a lean 274, and I'm 5'9", 5'10" on a good day, it was 1850 test, 800 milligrams of trenonanthate, 75 milligrams of anadrol, and 10 IUs of Humalog post workout. And I was a freak with blood pressure issues. So, well, like none of my big boys run anything remotely close to that. I think the biggest guy that we have on the team who will be 280 pounds and lean doesn't use more than 750 milligrams of test. It's just not necessary. But
Yeah.
I get the argument for utilizing the bigger dosages to force the growth to get there, and then you can maintain at a lower, healthier stage. It's it's a genetic thing,
Yeah.
and how aggressively are you training? How, let me rephrase that. How efficiently are you training? Because some people just go in there and just move weight with no real purpose. They're just like la 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 la. So
And then another thing to be said is digestion. You can take everything, but if you're not digesting it, it's not doing you any good. And so, but yeah, everybody has different sensitivity levels to each compound, and each compound might work differently for every certain individual. And everyone has their, limits or capabilities, but like I find that more so now is digesting the food and what are you getting out of your meals? You know what I mean? You could, because honestly, like when I think I had my first, maybe the second show, Sean was pushing so much food into me in my bulk. And I think I had like my protein up to like 700 grams of protein a day. And I just couldn't digest the food. I'm like, I'm eating so much food. I'm like, and it wasn't doing anything. My weight wasn't moving. And so that's where, figuring everything else out outside the box, like really helped me progress, you know, my
yeah,
career.
the abuse of overeating protein is mind blowing. Like I
Oh,
did a seminar a couple months back, and this guy, and he's a nice enough guy, but again, he's a dork too. He told me, he was like, bro, every day, nothing less 400 grams of protein, but didn't go into the details of where that protein was coming from. And 80% of his nutrition was coming from protein shakes.
okay.
I was like,
Man.
right. And you instantly, you're like, that is not how you do it. That's not how you get proper nutrition into the body. And I was like, you look the same for the last 8 years. I can't imagine why.
Yeah.
So, this is one of those things. Less is more. And if you're on PEDs, the more protein you have, or the more testosterone you have, the more protein you can synthesize. So if you're getting more food efficiently, just eat what is needed. There's no need to just abuse the body, and then you run the risk of forcing leaky gut syndrome. You end up with all these other issues. They're like, oh, I have heartburn. I'm like, do you really, or do you just have poor nutrition habits and you have internal inflammation, oxidative stress that is just you know snowballing all these other issues for you? You're like, oh man, I've had liquid poop for the last 3 weeks in a row. Wow, I can't imagine why. So
Yeah, that's one of the
happens.
biggest things that we see, Eric, me and Stephanie, is like, like yourself, like you guys probably, we have a template, and like with each athlete, I'm gonna recommend different stuff because they have, you know, food allergies, this and that, some people can't eat peanuts, all that stuff. So I'm gonna modify what I'm recommending as far as supplements, because some people come to you and they're taking no health supplements, like not even a vitamin. So, and I'll adjust it to what I really think they need, and I'll kind of figure out, hey, like, do you have the extra budget? Like, do you have 300 extra bucks that we can put towards some quality supplements? And the thing that we find the most is that, like Austin was saying, is they skip the digestive enzymes, the probiotics, the GDAs, when it's like exactly what you said. You're only as big as what you can absorb, you know? And
So putting more gear isn't going to do anything if you're not absorbing it.
right, exactly. And it's crazy because we have to circle back, and it's like, okay, we're trying to figure out the missing link as a coach, and it's like, okay, we're going down the list, and it's like, okay, wait, let me double check. Are you taking a digestive enzyme? And they're like, what's a digestive enzyme? So it's like, okay, we got to start back over.
Yeah. What's the food doing in your body? I mean, if you're doing this and you're doing it at a high level, or you aspire to do it at a high level, you've got to understand the process, or you would think you would want to. And the more you're in tune to understanding what's going on, you're gonna put that into action, and so much easier than just following directions.
Yeah. One thing I'm seeing too this year, just this year in particular, as opposed to like, let's say the past 4 or 5 years, kind of like what we were talking about, guys, about the training, is that, the PEDs don't matter. The food doesn't matter if you can't train correctly. I see so much. I was talking to a gentleman today about weight pushing, and it's like, when they finally give me the video, I've asked for videos like 10, the last 10 check-ins, you finally get me a video and it's like, okay, there's the problem. This is, a lot of people nowadays too, especially because of social media, they think they're training correctly. They think they're training intense when it's like if all of that were lined up, the food's lined up, the supplements, all of that stuff, I mean, they'd be winning shows, you know?
Yeah. But their training and their intensity is they're working as hard as they can on what's relative to them. They
Mhm.
don't understand. I mean, until you get in and work out with somebody who just pushes you beyond what you ever thought you were capable of. And that's what Sean's done for me, and he does for pretty much everybody who walks in the gym. There's not too many people who walk in and survive a leg day at Sean Frankel's Big Iron Gym. So,
Right. Yeah, that's true, man. And that's where I think, training partners, they're so crucial, to success. When you have the right training partner, it can be the right formula.
yeah, it's just it's a group too. It's there's so many. I mean, bodybuilding is such a you know solo sport, but it's there's so many people behind you. It's you go home, it's your wife, it's you have your workout partners, it's everybody around you supporting this one goal. It's you can't do that by yourself. Mentally, physically, every little detail counts. And when you're trying to keep that routine perfect, all the support you can get, all the mental support you can get plays into where you end up at the end.
Yeah, 100%. It does bug me too when people are like, "Oh, it's not a team sport," but it's like, no, there's
Yeah.
so many people, like you said, behind the scenes that are helping you get to the top.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I once you do it, I mean, I never looked at it the same. It's definitely it's a team sport,
Mhm.
and the people who are saying it's not, they're missing something there.
Right.
Yeah.
That's such a beautiful thing about this sport of bodybuilding is everyone who does it, who's involved with it, is so understanding and supportive. I mean, I'm going to hit 17 years of coaching people this year, and I've never once ever been to a show that another athlete was anything less than helpful or supportive or polite to another athlete. Stupid coaches with other stupid coaches, that's a different thing. But athlete per athlete, everyone is just, they know what it took to get there. There's that instant bit of respect that you get, like, hey, man, I hardly ate food too. You like rice cakes? I love rice cakes too. It's a lot
Yeah,
of fun. I love it.
that's
So,
so cool to see, man. We always say it, some of the most genuine people, I've met through coaching and bodybuilding. It's they're few and far between, but when you find them, like you got to keep them in the circle.
yeah, no, I love checking in on all my people, even the people that aren't on my team, that they're just friends of mine. I will always shoot a message, especially if I know they're in prep, like, hey, man, how are you doing? Not the normal, like, oh, yeah, things are good. Like, really, how are you doing? And you can see that, like, oh, man, someone actually cares. It's like, you don't have to put on you don't have to put on the fake face. We're all there to support you. It's okay. Be vulnerable. Buy me a burrito, then tell me your story.
Right?
It was Cinco de Mayo yesterday. Did you enjoy it?
No, man, it's all clean food. Did you?
No, I was in the airport most of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, burritos are clean. It's diet friendly.
Yeah.
Meat,
I'm just
cheese,
I'm
a little bit of
just so
rice.
basic. Well, we were traveling. Well, we were traveling, so it was all chicken and rice for me. That was it. And then
So,
we got. Oh, go ahead.
are you prepping for something right now?
Not really. I mean, I don't know. Like, so we go to Italy for one of my best friend's wedding. We go in 2 weeks, and then every year we try to do at least a photo shoot to just promote the brand, the business. Because we do have a lot of clients, and we're always trying to get more and just keep that strong, supportive team. But I always told myself whether I compete for as long as I can, I'm always gonna do. I'm always getting in shape at some point. So, but it's all it's. I mean, we always eat clean anyway, so I feel like it's just the lifestyle. Like we're always prepping, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask you, like, when you get into your off seasons, how clean do you keep that?
I keep
What
it
work?
I keep it pretty clean. So I don't know if you know this, but I had ulcerative colitis for a while.
Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah, and then so I had my entire colon removed. I've had nine different surgeries. So it's more so of like what can I eat as opposed to like can't. So the
Sure.
only seasoning I can use is salt. So I love salt, which is great, but like it's clean. Like I'll do a flank steak meal, I'll do chicken a couple times a day. Eggs are kind of like a hit or miss. Like I have some type of sensitivity to eggs if I keep them in there too long. But and then I'll throw in turkey. I've actually been doing fish. I don't really like fish, but it's probably been the best for my digestion. So I've been doing fish for like 4 months now, probably.
Fast digesting, that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's been really good. So that's pretty much like my day as far as no shakes right now, unless like I'm on the road or something.
Are you like loading carbs, or like how does that, or are you trying to like bulk, or how does that work for growth?
Yeah, so I'm still trying to add size, but it definitely works easier for me if I keep it in check. Like I'm always sub 10% body fat. So like when I start a prep, I don't really have to do much cardio. Like most of my best preps, I've done zero cardio. I know my clients are gonna hate me for that, but but yeah, it's normally I get to a point where like I'll start the prep, I'll introduce cardio, and then weight will start flying off. And then there'll be a point where I either stop it or I have to just reduce it.
Yep.
But I've always found for me, I always grow the best when I'm like 9, 10%, still have visible abs.
Okay.
And it's like I
Sure.
feel like I can see the changes more, like the shoulders are popping or the arms, you know.
Okay.
Last year I did my highest bulk. I'm 5'5", so I got to 242, which I think the highest I had seen before that was like 225. And I was thinking like, man, I was in pretty good shape at 242. Abs, I mean, legs were still shredded. And then when I started to cut down and like reset everything, I got to like 225 again, 220. And I'm like, I'm the damn same size. Like, what happened here?
So when you
So
get heavy in your peak, do you get into like breathing issues? I mean, is it tough to breathe or sleep or?
no, I don't have any issues with that. Like I could feel it in my feet, like just the pressure,
Sure.
when we were walking the dogs and like even walking around, I was like, my feet feel like a sponge or something. Like
Oh,
I could definitely feel like I'm like really heavy right now for my frame.
yep.
And then I was thinking too, when I peel this down a little bit, like I'm gonna be freaking 5, 7 pounds up. And that I found out that just wasn't the case. So I'm like, you know what? I'm
But
not
was it look, you know, you
no.
can,
Yeah, because when I got there, I was expecting a different look. And then we got the chance to train with Hani Rambod, me and Stephanie. So we're like, we want to look as best as possible for this. So we cut for like 4 weeks. Um, I dropped like I dropped 30 pounds in 4 weeks.
sure.
Yeah, so I was like 208, 209 for that. And then we trained with Hani. We got the pictures, and then it was like I didn't gain any size off of, adding
But
15 pounds.
if you drop 30 pounds in 4 weeks, don't you worry about peeling muscle off, losing the fat that fast?
I was worried about it. I feel like I held a lot of water to it, the weight.
Sure,
But then when I got down and, I took pictures every week, of course, and I'm like, I didn't feel like I really lost anything, but I also felt like I didn't gain anything either.
sure. Okay. For
So,
me, I get heavy. Like I can tell, like once I hit my new heavy, even get borderline to the top of my peak, my body's heaviest weight, like I'll run into breathing issues. It's tough to breathe. It's tough to walk upstairs. It's just everything I'm doing. If I'm sleeping, I mean, now I'm thinking CPAP or other alternative ways to breathe a little better
yeah.
because uncomfortable. Everything's uncomfortable. And the food, I mean, just piling in the food. And so that's why, I'm thinking about digestion. How can I make my digestion so much better so I don't have to eat so much food? So,
Mhm.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Well, I will gladly chime in on this because this is totally my specialty part. I am a perma bulker for sure. So I'm about 5'10", and I just weighed on the scale this morning. My fasted weight is 284. So I still got some meat on me. I don't have any breathing problems when I sleep and things like that. I do a pretty good job of dealing with, a lack of stress in my life, which is very nice. And I think that that really paid dividends for that. Because when I was younger and I'd be, 260, I was breathing way heavier than I am now. But the one thing that I noticed, and so we have a house in Tahoe, and when you're at elevation like that and stairs, it whoops your butt pretty good. I
Yeah.
noticed for myself, I do two different things now and I utilize them together. This is probably not everyone's normal ideal, but 10 micrograms of clenbuterol first thing in the morning or right before I go to bed helps open up the airways just the right amount where I don't have any snoring related issues. I can still breathe through my nose, still be enormous, sleep on my side with a weird kinked neck,
Really,
totally fine. The
it is.
one thing that I started doing recently, and this was a really big game changer, is I was trying to understand how to get more oxygen to circulate through the body during the day. I noticed that when I was walking around just doing normal cardio, I was like, man, like I feel like my endurance for cardiovascular stuff is just not as ideal, which is weird because my muscle endurance is phenomenal. I'll train for 3 hours straight and not even bat an eye. And so I looked into it and I figured out that when you bring in a carbonated drink, it could be anything, carbonated water, soda, whatever. Don't do soda, but I'm just using that as an example. That the carbon dioxide that you're getting from there, your body is like a car and there's an air fuel ratio. And so, like with a car, you increase air, the fuel wants to go with it. When you bring in the carbonated beverage, the body senses that there's an imbalance between oxygen and the carbon dioxide. And so it tells the body to release more oxygen temporarily from the hemoglobin. There's a medication that you can take to do this in a more aggressive term, but just manipulating the body in its natural production, this works really well. So if you've ever drinking like a carbonated energy drink while you're working out or beforehand, you'll notice that your overall breathing and endurance is significantly better. And it's not from the caffeine, it's from the carbonation that you're getting out of it. So
Yeah.
drinking carbonated water throughout the day not only aids with the digestion, but it also dramatically aids in your body to circulate more oxygen through the body. It does the opposite if you take a big inhale of pure oxygen. It changes the ratio, but then it also generates more oxidative stress. So you're generating internal inflammation, which is exactly what you don't want.
Okay, I'll try that. That makes sense.
Wow.
Mind blowing. Hey,
That
I'll
is.
take the helps right now. So,
Yeah, that's a crazy interesting fact there.
yeah, I mean, but you got to think about that stuff. Like even sleeping at night. I mean, if I'm depriving my organs of oxygen, I mean, if any organ's not functioning at 100%, well, you're going to halt all your growth, all your gains. I mean, if your liver isn't functioning properly, your kidneys aren't functioning properly, whatever. I mean, if you're not getting the oxygen there, it makes a difference. So I've known a few guys, very competitive bodybuilders, that said once they got on the CPAP, that their growth exponentially took off.
Oh, for sure. I know Ross Flanagan's talked about that quite a bit. Um, brain health, the longevity just for overall brain health. If you're not getting proper oxygen to the back part of your brain, you're just speeding up your risk of dementia.
Yeah.
So sleep and proper oxygen throughout the body is huge. It's absolutely a non-negotiable.
Here's a question, Austin. I feel like I already know the answer, but for the pro debut, are you looking at a show where it's masters also, like you do both? Or you're like, nope, forget the masters. I'm just going to do open.
Yeah, I'll just have to say it, just open. So it's the same mentality I had
Yeah.
for jump USA's. Like everyone's like, well, why don't you just do masters? I could have done masters. It's like if I'm going to compete, I'm going to compete against the best. That's all I
Yeah.
want to do. So see what I got, and that's just a personal thing. It's like, how do you stack up? Well, I don't want to stack up against the lesser competition. I want to know what it takes to do it at the highest level. And yeah, I figured I got to this level a little late in life. I figured that out, but hey. I made it, but I still don't have that. I have that competitive edge. So until I lose that, it's all or nothing. So
Yep. That's
yeah,
exactly what I figured you'd say.
yep, absolutely.
That's great.
So I got to ask the question now. How old are you?
I just turned 42.
Happy
So
birthday.
thank you. Yeah, no, I'm getting up there, but I don't feel it. And honestly, like really, I mean, you look at some of these top level pros, Samson and, Andrew Jack, they're pushing 40 years old. So heck, we'll see what I got. I know there's a window of what I can do because I've never really pushed PEDs like ever. So I've been relatively light on that my entire life. So I know I have a window of maybe 4 or 5 years where I could be absolutely competitive and push this to the level it takes. And then from there, I know that I have an exit strategy. So I don't want to overdo it. I have a plan and I'll see what I got.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
that's
Age
key,
is just
man.
a number. If your heart is still in it, you make it
Yep.
happen.
Yep.
Well, as we're wrapping up, I got one question that we got on Instagram. Let's see if we can pull it up here. I feel like we got something. Okay. Someone asked, I feel like we kind of covered this, but what did training look like in your teens and 20s? Um, we already know your training type. Yeah, so what did it look like in your teens and 20s when you started training?
Teens and 20s was always the dream of being the bodybuilder. I mean, that's where it all started. So, like, to me, it's like I always got the magazines. It was muscular development, and that was the only thing with the real information back in the day.
Yep.
And I loved it. And I just ate that stuff up. But I trained to the level that I could reading magazines, with the amount of information that I had. And so until I was exposed to what it really took, I couldn't do it. I was limited. So, and I just, obviously I had life, you got to deal, life happens. And so I started a business. I, had to make myself successful. There's things I had to do. And then I realized there's more to life than just working. And so I did something for me. And that was getting back into what I loved, and that was training. And I always trained, but it just not at the level that I wanted to. And I didn't devote the time and effort into it the way I wanted to. And so, you know, once I met up with Sean, the doors were unlocked, the information was there, and then the dream came back alive.
Yep.
Well, so when you were younger, and you talking about reading the magazines, was your training split like a bro split? Like every body part got love? Were you into the push pull leg? What did it look like back then?
Yeah, it was still a bro split. It was, one body part a day. Um, yeah, I mean, really, I trained pretty well. I trained pretty heavy. I got strong. I got fairly big, but it wasn't to the level that it took to be obviously a professional or even a high level competitor. There's just so much to learn.
Yeah, that's great stuff, man. Well, as we wrap up, let's do one final question here. What would you say, like, what would you tell someone they've competed before, but they've never won their class or, of course, an overall. What would you tell someone, male or female, as far as like their training, the process as a whole? They come to you and they're like, "Hey, Austin, like, what do I need to do to get to that next level?"
And the next level comes with the dedication and effort. So if you want something bad enough, you will do anything it takes to get it. So you just have to have the want. And without that want, you're only going to achieve the level that you want it. So if you want it bad enough, you will do it. You'll become pro. There's nothing that will stop you. Just got to have the want.
100%. I love it, man. Well said. Well, this was great, man. We appreciate you coming on. Well, you'll have to keep us posted on your off season. You said you want to step on stage, give or take 10 months. So we'll definitely have to get you on once you pick a show.
Sounds good. I appreciate the talk, guys.
Awesome, man. Well, you enjoy the rest of your day. We'll chat soon, I'm sure.
All righty. Thank you. Have
All
a good
right.
one.
We'll see you, boys.